Hi, my name's Josh Forrest. I am a right leg lower limb loss. It was a knee disarticulation which happened back in June of 2019. Growing up, played hockey, golf, just any type of random sports at school. Coming out of high school, I went to university and then took 3 years off. So I tree planted for about 2 years in Saskatchewan and then also in the UK. And I also spent a year working in trades with solar and geothermal. And then I went back to school, finished up the degree, got into cooking, but also worked some construction jobs, and went back tree planting a few times, and then found that job with the arborist, being around trees and kind of nature and stuff like that. I've always enjoyed being outside, and also just working hard, using my body, and kind of feeling athletic about things, getting stuff done. Well, the day started, we picked up the trucks, and my boss had been on a very, very large tree. It was the biggest tree he'd ever seen. So I knew we were going to work hard that day, and the trunk was in 1 yard, but the branches went out all over all four. So he was cutting branches down in each yard, so I was moving fast, hopping fences. There's branches all over the place, and I think about 10 in the morning, I stepped on a piece of tree the wrong way and sprained my ankle, but also just felt that it didn't hurt that bad, so I kept on trying to work, as I felt that my boss was wanting to get this job done, and it was a big job. But by the end of the day, he could tell I was limping, and he said, take tomorrow off, go get it checked out. So I went to the Mediclinic the next day and found out through x-rays that there was no fracture, but it definitely felt maybe like one. And about a week later, the swelling wasn't going down, and I was in so much pain that I ended up going to the hospital, and from there I didn't actually get back out for 3 weeks. The lab results came back, so they said we're going to operate, and I had to sign a consent form saying, you may lose your leg, but I wasn't thinking that would happen, since I just was under the impression it was a sprained ankle. As far as I understand, I went septic, and had a couple close calls with passing away during that process. Since it's blood related, it's all over the body. It affected the leg specifically due to the ankle sprain. The doctor came out and talked to my mom and said his leg is gone up to the knee, so we could wait for Josh to wake up so he can decide for himself, or you could decide. If it was my child, I would amputate. That was his recommendation, and so she chose that. But I was actually glad, because I don't think that's an easy decision to make for oneself, especially if they're in the hospital with painkiller medication. They're not going to be feeling the pain, so they'll think, okay, we'll just try to save the leg. But I'm glad that they didn't. I think it was probably hard for them to see initially, especially my mom having to make that decision herself and carry that responsibility, hoping that she made the right call, which she did. I think things could have been worse, so I'm not gonna sit and wait about it and miss out on time. So I think things are worked out good for me. I realized I wouldn't be able to run the same way or play hockey the same way, but for the most part, I tried not to overthink it. I spent time watching videos of other people with disabilities and amputations, and tried to get a bit of peer support in that way. Just having other people, having friends already I know that are missing limbs, it made it feel more normal for me that I'm not the first or not the only one. And I think that's a big thing about peer support, is just being reminded that you're not alone and that there's other people going through this. A friend of mine, he had sarcoma as a child, and his leg is cut quite high, and he said to fall on it feels like hitting your funny bone times a billion. Yeah, so I'm glad that I don't have that. For me, when I fall, it just feels like a really painful, bashed up knee, but it not like a funny bone. As for the mental, I think I was so busy right off the start that I was like, okay, I'm okay, I'm handling this. But after a couple of months, I started feeling a little bit down, and at that point, I said, oh, I think I'm ready to talk to that grief counselor, which was good because 5 sessions, but it really helped. Just prevention of injuries at work. Just always try to know your rights and know that you can turn down on any unsafe work. It's not worth it in the long run, and if something does happen, then don't be too proud. If you have an injury, go get it checked out. I think before this happened, I was, someone who would just, try to limp it off and get through the day, and I never would have expected to sprain my ankle and then lose my leg a week later. So my opinion of Saskatchewan WCB is one of, I guess appreciation for, the resources that I've gotten. My personal experience, I'm not sure how I could have recovered without their support, and certainly I think it would look differently. They've, put me through physio, got counseling, retraining. I got the leg that I got, the lost wages, not having to worry about money, clothing benefit. There's just a host of resources that were made available to me that I feel if you take them away from my recovery looks significantly different.